What's up? It's Jose Shorty Torres, and you guys looking for love advice, or even want to hear some really, really bad stories of what happened trying to get love, guys, check out my guy Blake's podcast, the Unfiltered Bachelor Podcast. I think it's hilarious because you hear funny stories, bad stories, things working out well, things just going and all that stuff. Guys, check it out, and maybe you'll find some love in the process. Thank you so much, guys.
I've been searching for you here for so long, so long. I've been searching for you here for so long, so long.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Blake, Money Blake Weather. Welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Bachelor. I'm your Unfiltered Bachelor, Blake Money Blake Weather. How's everybody doing in this crazy time that we're living in? Hopefully you're doing great, wonderful, and fantastic. Real quick, before we get started, feel free to go ahead, like, comment, share anything Unfiltered Bachelor, wherever podcasts are. That's where the show is. Tell your friends to tell their friends. And we can all be friends. Obviously, given that we all quarantined and locked down, we got a lot more time to do a lot more podcasts, connect with a lot more guests, as you've been seeing on the podcast channel, just doing a lot of different shit. I decided to reach out, got my boy on, Josh, from the Just Josh podcast. That's the name of it, right? I got that right?
Yeah, Just Josh podcast. I shortened it to J2 podcast just to make it easier for people. But yeah, it's funny because when I came up with the name, I was thinking in my head, I was like, I can't even pronounce my own name well. So trying to put Just Josh or two J's in front of each other is kind of hard. And so I almost didn't even go with it, but I couldn't think of anything else. So I just got to struggle through.
And bro,
how's it going, man?
I got a lisp. That's just some hard shit for me to say and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know.
I feel you.
I'm doing good, man. You know, I'm staying corona free. How you? Where are you at? Matter of fact.
So I'm in Maryland, Baltimore.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Baltimore, Maryland.
The Wire and shit.
So we're right by. Yeah. You've seen that? That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great show. Great show.
Yeah, man. I love it.
I'd hesitate to say better than The Sopranos, but I know some people would argue with me. But
man, they're about you about to be the hottest debate right now on Facebook, man. If you're doing all that.
Oh,
man.
I know.
But yeah, man, life's going good. Everything's going good. I checked out your podcast, man. Thank you. It's pretty fresh for like it being. I just found 9 episodes, but for it being 9 episodes in, man, like everything's pretty like fucking dope, man. Like the sound quality's dope. The guests seem cool. Yeah. It seems to be just like a very open formatted podcast. Like there's no, it's like nothing is off bounds and everything is kind of covered. And it's kind of like, what does Josh want to talk about today?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is. My background's in music and I own a management company. And so I was struggling because one of my other coworkers and stuff, I put this live and I asked the people watching if they could hear your end and they said no. So
oh no.
So that kind of sucks, but that's okay. Yeah, man. So sorry to interrupt there. So my background's in music and my podcast, I struggled for a long time if I wanted to do management advice and music stuff specifically. But I actually held off doing a podcast for years. You know, I was thinking about doing it like 6-7 years ago, 8 years ago, when it was still kind of fresh and not everyone doing it. But it was just so many of my friends in the music industry had one already. And I just felt like I didn't want to copy it. I didn't want to go over. And again, I was struggling, like, I don't want to just put out management advice. So I finally got the courage and then I finally settled on, well, why don't I just make it a personal podcast? Like make it something that's strictly me and what I'm interested, separate from management, separate from music. And most of my guests are going to be bands, artists, comedians, stuff like that, that are coming through town on tour. But I don't want to just talk about music. I want to kind of, I liken it to being like the Joe Rogan of music, but we talk about everything. I want to get scientists, people that know about aliens and conspiracy and other things as well. So, but the real stuff, not the tinfoil hat stuff, but like disclosure and like, my ideal guest for that would be like Tom DeLonge, if I could get him in there and just talk aliens. Like, don't care about Blink 182, don't care about any of that other stuff. Just want to hear that. But yeah.
That's funny, man. Yeah, who would be your ideal guest? So, Tom, would there be anybody else that like you'd like ever want to have on one day if you could?
Whew. I don't know, man. I mean, that's such a hard question because it really depends on it really depends on like who, there's so many. Do you mean sports? Do you mean music? There's so many different guests I guess I could have on. Right off the top of my head, someone I've always wanted to talk to, just because it was like my idol growing up, was Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. And just getting to sit down and like, I remember they had like MTV Fanatic or something, and this kid won, and he got to go hang out and like play guitar with him and do all this other stuff. And I remember being so jealous and being like, "You're not the number one fan. I'm the number one fan." I'm a little older now, so I grew up on like '90s. Punk and 90s rock, and even going into like the 2000s with the pop punk and like the metalcore and stuff like that. And then I love the classics. My dad raised me on the Who, the Doors, the Beatles, stuff like that, and he's gotten to see all those bands. So he's definitely a huge influence in as far as like my musical tastes and also just my love of music.
Yeah, I was listening to one of the episodes, man. It was like one of your episodes was like top 7 albums, and you had. Did you pick that? The Green Day album. Like, listen, man. I do my homework on my guests, man.
Yeah,
First of all,
yeah, you're the only one so far. But yeah, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate you checking those out. And yeah, we did the top 7 albums, and I'm pretty sure Green Day was on there. Had to have been Green Day, Dookie. Just because of its influence. Now, that doesn't mean it's like these albums weren't necessarily like my favorite or the ones. It was just the ones that had the biggest influence on me, and like at the time or maybe a certain point in my life. And as you can see, a lot of those were like '90s related,
Yeah, and like that '90s music is like there's like something about it, dude. Like especially with like that punk rock era, like the late '90s, like '96, '90s. Like I remember being speaking of Green Day, I have my own like memory. I remember being like visiting my uncle in like 95, 96. Motherfucker lived out in like Kansas City, Missouri. I remember hanging out, and I remember that song. We were at like some little like pizza parlor, pizza bar shit. We're waiting for our pizza, dude. And like, I remember that song that "When I Come Around," and it was just like, oh, what the fuck is this? And it's just like this like punk rock group, man, like fucking Green Day. I don't know. That's just my memory with Green Day, bro. It has nothing to do with anything. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I love it, man. So what part of like the music industry, music business, like what part did you do? What part did you play in the grand scheme of everything?
Yeah, so I always consider myself a musician first, in the sense of I started off playing music just like everyone else, and I loved it. But I've always wanted to go to college. I always wanted to make sure I got my degree, not even just for my parents, but for myself, and having something to fall back on, because this is really hard. It's not an easy industry, obviously, and being able to maybe bring something else to the table as opposed to just maybe certain, the fact that I have connections, or we can do certain things, like actually having that business background, the finance background was really important to me, and but management, to answer your question, I took my degrees and I went and got my business degree from Towson around here, and I'm working on my MBA in business analytics. And both of those degrees really helped me out as far as, knowing what I could balance books if I have to. I can actually help them set up campaigns and make sure that they're saving their money correctly. And then not only that, again, the biggest thing for me, I think the reason I got into management specifically was because I have such a passion for like helping people achieve their goals in the sense of when it's the hardest. So I specifically like to work with like independent and newer artists, ones that it's going to be a lot harder. I'm going to have to invest more money and time into them. But I want to look back 15, 20 years from now and see old pictures of us when they were still young and I was 35 and now I'm going to be 50 or something, I'll be 50 and we're like, man, can you remember that time? Can you remember back in the day when that happened? So it's again, I think it's easy just to hop on with any band that's established, but to actually, help build the band up from the ground up is really what I get out of it. And I just love the business too. Again, it's something that my dad got me into. He's 70, he's in the 70s and he still plays around town.
Oh, damn.
All he needs is his Martin guitar and a mic, and he's good to go. And I've always been jealous that he's a great singer. He can sing very well. I've always been able to play instruments, but I can't sing or shit. So singing and being in a band wasn't necessarily my path, but I couldn't have asked for, and I'm not where I want to be. I don't want to make it seem like I'm this big national thing, but I'm very lucky that to pay my bills, I tour with some national bands, and that pays my bills. And then all the income that comes in from our artists goes straight back into the company, straight back into the artist. So I never have to worry about cross-contamination or borrowing money here and then trying to put it back later. It's just I keep everything separate, and I think that's why we're successful too.
That's dope, man. That's real. Okay, but like you got to have like some like crazy road stories and shit though, right? Like that comes with the territory, right?
I love when people ask me this because it is one of the main questions I get, and I always feel bad because the honest answer is I don't. Maybe back in the day in the 90s and stuff like that, it was probably a shit show all the time. But these days, especially when you're, it's big labels aren't handing out money and people aren't doing any, a lot of that stuff. To be honest, when people say, well, oh man, you must get to see so many cool things and do so many cool things.
You're like, nah,
when
bro.
I'm touring with some of these national, yeah, right. But when I'm touring with some of these national bands, they've been touring for 10 plus years. So they've been there, done that. They've seen the Grand Canyon. They've seen this. They've done that. So it's like for them, it's just tour. And then us as crew, we're getting up at like 8, 9 in the morning, leaving the hotel, going straight, driving 8 hours to the next city or whatever, or the next venue, loading in at 2, getting everything set up. Probably about 5 o'clock, I'll be done. 6 o'clock, I might have an hour, 2 hours tops before the doors open. I got to get back in there. So usually we just eat real quick and then get back in there. Then we have the show going on. Then we have to load out after we're done and pack everything up. And we usually don't leave the venue till about 2, in the morning, 2:30, depending. Yeah. And then it's off to the hotel, and then we get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and then it's all over and do that again. So it's not as glamorous as people think. But yeah, we definitely have good times. And to be honest, the times that we do are so good that even if I wanted to and I could try to remember, I probably couldn't. Those are the days where you're like, what happened last night? Like, I just remember waking up in the bus the next day or the van or whatever, and then waking up for the show. So, nothing crazy that stands out. Like, I never did a line of coke off anyone's ass at the Playboy Mansion with
never. No, I'm just
famous
kidding.
people.
I'm like, you never did that. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, I thought everyone did that, but I definitely had a lot of fun as far as touring and getting. I think the biggest thing for me is not necessarily like, oh, do you have any crazy stories? But I've gotten to meet a lot of cool bands, a lot of bands and people that I grew up listening to in college and stuff like that. Like getting to meet the Pepper guys, and was a band I listened to in college. I used to get high and study for tests, and Pepper would be one of the bands that I'm always playing, and then actually getting to meet them over the years casually and through other friends. Not even just a band. I remember. In like 2012, one of my friends, Diana, that I met, are really good friends. Anytime the guys are in town, they stay with her. And at one point, she was married to another guy. I think they separated since then. But they actually introduced me to those guys before I actually met them through the band that I had toured for, Ballyhoo. Yeah, I never said it. You don't fangirl out because when you're backstage or when you're there for a reason, you act like we're acting right now.
Right.
You don't fangirl, but deep down, getting to meet those guys and getting to know them is pretty cool, and other bands like that and stuff like that. So yeah,
you got their shirt in the background, right? Like that's their thing in the background. Are there?
Oh yeah.
I see it there. Yeah,
I got Yeah, so I got the bottom is kind of like the punk rock, Blink-182, MXPX, Newfound Glory, Real Big Fish is another band that I've gotten to meet and get to know those guys over time, and that's pretty cool. Cause,
talk about ska
he's like,
shit, man.
Dude, he's legendary.
Yeah.
He is he's an icon in that for sure. Like when I think of ska, I definitely think of him and a couple other people. But so the bottom's kind of like that old school punk scene, and then the middle one's kind of like the '90s Red Hot Chili Peppers, 311, Linkin Park, Foo Fighters, Incubus, like that kind of music. And then this one's kind of like the reggae ska genre with Revolution, Pepper. We got Stick Figure and Soja, Slightly Stupid, Dirty Heads, that kind of bands. And then the very top, which you can't see, but is the all the metalcore and like heavy metal bands. 4 Year Strong, Coheed and Cambria, Day to Remember, Avenged Sevenfold, and bands like that. So
I was gonna say the other album real quick, I guess before I exit this. Is that a beer shirt behind you? Is that the Real Big Fish? I always think of
yes,
every time I think of Real Big Fish, I always think of basketball, right? Like that's obviously beers, Milwaukee beers or wherever they are. But yeah, obviously they play in the movie and they do that "Take Me On" sort of ska remix or whatever it is. But I saw that, man. I had to call that out while I saw that. Before I moved on to this, you talked about another one of your albums, bro. Coheed and Cambria in Keeping Secrets of the Earth Volume 3. Fucking badass album.
Man.
Fucking badass album. I love it.
If you haven't seen Coheed and Cambria live, please go see them. They're like, I feel like they're this generation's Rush, but like better and heavier. It's just different. It's just crazy, his voice and stuff like that, and how talented he is. Yeah, they're one of my favorite top 5 bands to see live for sure.
I've never seen them live, but I know they played here. I'm in Austin. They played here in Austin a number of times. But yeah, the lead singer's voice, he doesn't look like his voice at all. Like it's just like kind of like swollish looking Mexican type dude with long ass curly hair and like the lip ring and shit. You think like he's got like this like deep ass voice, and then he's just like good eye sniper. Just like sings really high pitch.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the first I'm trying to study. But I'm like, who the fuck is that? She sounds amazing. And he's like, dude, it's Coheed and Cambria. It's a dude. They're amazing. You should check them out. And honestly, at first, I didn't like him because he was annoying me and because the voice, I'm like, that's a dude. And then, but then I got into the music and then I saw the comic books that he drew and the art and the story behind all the albums. I thought it was a female, but yeah, that's what got me into it. So I actually just saw the guy that got me into it at the most recent Coheed show, and they're definitely a band to check out if you ever get the chance.
And then following that comic book series, right? The Armory Wars, isn't that what it is?
Yeah, the Armory Wars was amazing.
And like it all connects to each other. I don't know, man. I'm getting way off on Coheed. I'm a huge I have like, hey man, I recommend.
Yeah,
everybody...
I thought this was a dating show or something or a dating podcast, and I'm loving that we're just getting into music, and I was getting all my my relationship stories together and ready.
We'll get to that in just a second. I had to touch on some of this music shit before we get into all that, man. Because like Coheed's a large like in Keeping Secrets of the Earth Volume 3. It's a song on the album, like the actual song. It's like 8-9 minutes long. I love that song, first of all. And then of course, what's the one at Flavor in the House Atlantic? I mean, everybody knows that one. But like it's all off the same. I think it's all the same album if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, man, like that's on my that's on my workout playlist and shit. Everybody should go add that to their workout playlist. That way you can work out hard and be swell like me, Blake. But yes, man, I was gonna get into. You're on the road a lot. You do a lot of like you're around the town shit. That has to take up like major time of like you wanted to like date or be like, damn, I see somebody with somebody. Damn, I'm watching this rom-com movie. Like, what the fuck? Like, where my significant other, man? Like, what's up with this? But also like you're on the grind so much. You're working like it's like, where do you fit in? You know what I mean? Like, do you ever feel like that?
Yeah, so it definitely is hard and different being on the road, just because it's not that like I would cheat or anything like that or that I'm untrustworthy, but I know it's very difficult for the significant other to deal with me being gone for months at a time sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And then they also think, you know, again, like you said, like, do you have any crazy stories? So in their head, you know, if I don't answer right away, they think I'm like backstage getting a blowjob or something, or,
right.
You know, and I'm sitting there probably sweating my ass off, like loading out. And I'm getting all these text messages like, where are you? What are you doing? You know, and I'm just like, I'm loading out, you know, I'm sweating. And then it's also hard on the flip side because you would think being on the road and working for a band or just getting to meet a lot of people, you would probably get a lot of tail. And yeah, but you know, you're working, you're sweating, I'm in all black and I'm like sweating my ass off, running back and forth and trying to do different things. So it's like, I don't really have the time for that.
Right.
First of all. And then second of all, it's like, you know, how am I supposed to put on my best foot forward when I'm sitting here sweating and you know, trying to talk.
You're like, my balls smell like cottage cheese, bro. Don't be coming over here, girl. Like, I can't even, what are you talking about right now?
We had an overnighter last night, so I haven't showered in 3 days. But like, you know, let's hook up after the show. You'll love it, you know. So it's definitely something where, you know, it makes it difficult. Being on the road definitely has affected it. And honestly, I'm just so involved with my career and stuff. I just don't have time. You know, it's not that I don't have time if I found the right one that understood and got it, but it's hard to find those. We live in a social media world, not the real world anymore. So, you know, a lot of what we base on what we think of other people is what we see online, and that's just not the type of relationship that I'm looking for personally, especially at my age too. It's either, you know, if you're not wifey material, I honestly don't even have time to date, you know?
Right.
It's a waste of money, a waste of time. And for me too, again, as I get older, your priorities change. So maybe before it was more about looks, and I definitely want to be attracted to someone, but really for me, it's, you know, the person I end up with is going to be the person that just gets me, you know, that just understands that music's my life and understands that touring and doing other things like that is something I want to continue doing, and I shouldn't have to give that up to be in a relationship with you at the same time. You know, how can we meet halfway and make this work to where it's not stressful, you know?
It's like a battle, right? Like of like, okay, I don't want to be like lonely, I'd like to have a companion, but also like I got my career and like this is what I want to do and this is what I love doing and this is what's gotten me this far, you know what I'm saying? Like I always feel like especially in any form of the entertainment business, right? Whether you're on stage or you're backstage, or you know you're setting up the stage, or you're making sure that people get on the stage, right? Like any form facet, especially in the music industry, like it is so difficult. Like especially when you do the tour thing, because like you're saying, like it is. I could imagine, like everybody, like if you. Say you come home, you know what I'm saying? It's in between tours. You meet somebody. How many first of all, how many people can you meet? Like it's very hard to meet people. Then how many people meet your standards? And then how many people of those standards are going to be, you know, down ass? You know what I'm saying? They're gonna hold it down for you. You know what I'm saying? Like it just the numbers get thinner and thinner and whittle, and it's like, but where they at though? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, again, it's something that I think I've been single for the last 5 years of my life because of that reason, you know, just because it is difficult. And, you know, again, I'm kind of at the age where it's like, no, I don't want kids tomorrow. Not necessarily, but, you know, yeah, I'd like to kind of start a relationship or meet people that I feel like, you know, are worth my time. And again, it comes down to just accepting me for me and all the things that, you know, I have my own demons and my own shit in my own head that I have to deal with, you know, just like everyone else. So, you know, dating is kind of hard in this line of work, but I think that's why I've kind of focused on trying to stay at a home base moving forward and doing less of the traveling and stuff like that as well.
I'm trying to make room for that. Have you been doing like any online dating during the quarantine time, bro?
Man, you know, I did just have a really bad. I don't even want to talk about it. I guess it's a dating show, and who's really going to listen to this? And I don't even know if people can hear you. I think people on my Facebook Live right now could probably only hear me. So it's going to be a pretty one-sided conversation here, but hopefully with the Bluetooth they can hear you now. But I'll tell the story. So I did actually have a female friend over last Saturday that I had met on a dating app.
First of all,
and,
which dating app you on?
Yeah.
Which dating app?
So the ones I have right now, basically are Bumble and Tinder.
Okay.
But that actually leads into my story. I now only have Bumble because I got kicked off of Tinder.
Oh no!
I didn't even do anything.
Oh no! Okay.
Oh, Tammy, you can hear both. That's so cool. Awesome. So they can hear. Everyone can listen in to us. That's awesome.
Fuck yeah.
So I had her over, and she very sweet, it seemed like, and very pretty, and we had a blast. And we went down. We got some of our local Baltimore beers. We have a lot of really good craft beer places around here, some of the best. And I've toured the country and had beers at other places, and some of our Maryland breweries really stack up pretty well against some of the other ones in the country. But we went down. We got her some craft beers. I took her to my favorite taco spot, and I got myself tacos. I even picked my mom up some tacos, and so we had a good time. And she came over, and we were watching a movie. I don't want to get too in detail.
Okay.
And she drove all the way from New Jersey, and just to come down and see me.
How far of
And
a
I
drive
think-
is that?
but-
Like, I live in Texas, so like everything's far.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, yeah, I love Texas too. By the way, one of my favorite, going to Gas Monkey and some of those other venues are some of my favorite venues in Texas. And Texas is one of my favorite places to tour. But
Nice.
so it's about 2.5 hours. So she had to drive pretty far. I got to give her credit because it's like, it's she definitely made the trip. She made the effort, so I have to give her that.
Okay.
So I think because of the distance and we hit it off very well, I think she was expecting to spend the night.
Oh no. Okay.
And I don't blame her, I guess, just because of the trip or whatnot. But yeah, so I figured maybe I don't know, with everything going on and just where I'm at, I wasn't really trying to have her stay over.
Okay.
And I was trying to be very polite and whatnot, but I think I could tell that she was upset that she had to leave.
Of course.
And then drive 2.5 hours back to New Jersey just because of in one day, or maybe an 8-hour span, because we probably only hung out for like 5 hours. So it's not even like she spent the whole day there. And so she got pretty upset, and next thing I know, I'm getting a million phone calls, like blocked phone calls from her because I had to block her. And then I go on my Tinder, and she apparently reported me. So I don't know how, and it's so funny because it's like it's her word against mine. I have no clue what she said or made up to get me banned from there, but I assume it's pretty horrible. Or Tinder's just on a ban streak because of everything. They're just like, we're just gonna ban whoever.
Fuck Josh. Yeah, fuck Josh.
But yeah. So yeah. So but I learned my lesson, and I will not be going on Tinder or anything anytime soon as far as dating, especially during coronavirus, because I assume from my recent experience that the ones that are actually willing to meet up right now are probably the ones that aren't 100% there.
Right.
Who knows? And that's no offensive.
Right.
There's probably people I met on Tinder right now watching this, like, oh, so I'm just whatever. No, I just yeah. No, I mean, yeah. So that's been my dating life as far as the quarantine goes, and that was really a spur of the moment thing too. It's like, I want to be safe,
right?
I want to make sure that I'm doing my thing. I'm not one of those people that are like protesting that we can't go outside or something. I mean, everyone can go outside. I don't even like to get in. It was funny. I went on another and we won't talk politics, but I went on to another podcast, and the guy was. I told him ahead of time, like, I really don't. We can get into a little bit, but I really don't talk politics because when it comes down to it, everyone's right. Like everyone has not everyone's right. I shouldn't say that. But, if you're making a valid point, there's more than one angle that you can come at. But that doesn't mean you're wrong.
Right.
And that doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means we're both right in what we're saying. Anyway, I went on this podcast and we're talking about coronavirus and all this other stuff. He starts to go into Joe Biden and Trump.
Oh, hell no.
And all this other stuff.
Hell.
And I'm just like, and then the problem is he asked me a question when I'm trying to answer. He keeps interrupting me and then telling me how Joe Biden's a piece of shit and all this other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, I agree with you. But if you let me finish, like, I can actually answer your question. But that's why I don't get into politics too much, because it always comes back to Wait, I don't even know why we started talking about politics. We're talking about how do we go from dating into politics?
You went.
This is a dating podcast,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, you went from like coronavirus and like people hanging out outside, which is again, you want to hang out outside, live your life, boo. That's entirely up to you. But I totally get your point, man.
That's why I
like,
started to go into politics. Yeah.
You're totally
because
not
I was
like,
saying I'm not one of those people.
Right, you're not one of those people, and like you're not hanging out outside and like fucking mingling with the fucking, zombies outside and shit. You're not doing that, Like I mean, I totally think you're staying safe, and I totally think like I've talked to like other friends during like this epidemic, this quarantine, lockdown, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and like even early on, even like 2 weeks on, like people are just wanting to like meet other people, and like people are just wanting to like have that human interaction, and like it's so much so in this case. Like first of all, let's run down the checklist real quick. Both of y'all match with each other, you know what I mean? Like that's how Tinder works. Like both y'all swiped on each other, like, and then both of y'all agreed to meet up. And so much so, she agreed to come down to where you were. That's how starving. Maybe had it not been quarantine, had it not been lockdown, had it not been whatever the fuck is going on right now, maybe she wouldn't have done that.
Right.
But like she did, and like that tells you the state of where people's minds are. Right
she might
now.
not have,
right?
But I don't know if that says something about me or her. If this wasn't going on, maybe I wouldn't have been. Maybe she would have swiped left. I don't know. Going back to your whole dating thing too, it's hard to find genuine people,
right?
Because on the road, you don't know, are they trying to hang out with you because they genuinely like you and want to hang out with you and connect, or are they just trying to get with the band or someone else, or just be able to go to their friends and be like, oh, well, I hung out with these guys and I did this or that, So, yeah, it's definitely hard. What about you? Do you date? Are you married or what?
No, I'm not.
I assume you have a. No, nothing.
Yeah, I'm
single.
I'm single like a Pringle. I have the podcast Unfiltered Bachelor, right? Like it's all like a lot of me and just relating, dating stories that I have and stuff like that. With other people that I have on the podcast, man, and I've been single 2 years now, and I'd probably been dating since the end of October, maybe early November of 2018. So like a year and a half now. And it's one of those things, you get out of a long relationship, you take a little bit of time away from dating, I think, to find yourself like anybody else does. And some people it's a little bit longer when you want to go back out in the dating scene. And some people it's a little bit shorter. Like some people do that whole like, I gotta always be with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, and that makes me a little sick to my stomach, because like you don't really learn anything about yourself. I don't think. Like you're just like you just being with somebody because it makes you feel good or validated, or you have to always. It's like some sort of insecurity. You always have to have somebody there with you.
Social media effect where. Yeah, it's like the social media effect where they're always posting all these happy and how amazing their life is and how great it is, and people feeling like they have to be in a relationship.
But also,
do this.
On the opposite side of that is people like me that see you with like 10 dudes, in a 6-month span. It's like, oh, here we go again. Like, y'all about to go out for 2 weeks. You can post, he's my boo, he's my everything, and then y'all be broken up next week. Like, slide into my DMs. You know what I mean?
I do
like,
see that.
Come on, man. Like, I don't do any of that shit. Like, I don't like. It's just I don't know, man. Like since coming out of like a relationship, and then like definitely taking time for myself, you kneel your way through the matrix, bro. Like you start to see the little green drizzles that come down on the screen and shit, talking code and shit. You can see all that, bro. Like you can see through all the bullshit, and like you start to figure out, like you start to be able to read around you, like read what's going on, read what the fuck you want to do. And it's a beautiful thing, man. I've used Tinder, Bumble, Hinge for dating. Primarily, I use online.
You're all over
online
the place,
dating.
Huh? I couldn't keep up. That's too many. I can't even keep up with one.
It's
two.
I'll
see a message like a month or two later, like after we leave the city. And I'll be like, crap, I missed her by day. That's why you got That's why on tour you got to upgrade. And you got to get it so you can start Tindering like 2 days before you get to the city.
You got to get the
so
passport.
That when you get to the city,
that Tinder passport.
Yeah. It's just whatever the plus was. But now that I got kicked off of it, I can't use it because they have my Apple ID. So like anytime I try to make a new one, and it blocked me. So it said no. And then I wrote him. I'm like, look, I didn't even do anything. You can look at all my messages because I can't access the app now. So I was just like, just look at all the messages and you'll see, you know, that nothing happened. And yeah, it's just weird. It's weird how it's kind of double standard too. Oh, what I started to say before is I hope that no one would think that, you know, I was saying anything rude against women when I say that, when we were talking about like, you know, you see them with 10 guys and then she's like, oh, my boo. And then it's like, because I was about to say, I don't feel sorry for you. Like, I know I'm supposed to, and we're bred that like we're supposed to feel sorry for them because they keep posting. I'm like, but after the 10th guy, it's not. Is it the guys, or is it that you have really bad taste in guys and you keep going for materialistic things or going for things that don't make a great relationship, like looks and other things? If that's your top priority and it's not, is this going to be a good father to my kids, or is this guy going to be able to be stable? Is he going to support me, you know, down the road and make sure that I'm taken care of? So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff as far as that goes.
Yeah, no, I got a friend of mine, man. We went to high school together, and I don't even think she listened to fucking podcasts. I'm not gonna say her name, but this girl has like 3 kids. She looks just the same way she did in high school, like phenomenal shape and whatever, man. But like, it's one of those things where I think in the last like 2 years, I think like she's probably been with like she's had like 6 or 7 boyfriends, and I just like, girl, like even me and some of the
now, there's also
nothing
nothing wrong with
like,
dating or being with a lot.
It's not, but like when it's like your relationship changes like 6-7 times in like 2 years, like it's a bit like, girl, like calm down, like bro, like like let's take it easy, let's pump the brakes. You got 3 kids, like you're probably just like dating, you know, like, oh, he fucks really good, but like, and 2 weeks from now, you ain't even gonna be with them. Like, you got, don't change all your, don't put it out there. Like, I think to your point, I think it's what I'm accentuating. To your point, just because it's on social, just because you got a social media, doesn't mean you need to put it on social media. Doesn't mean you need to put it out there for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, it's silly.
I'm just sick of seeing the same things over and over again. And it's like, okay, I get it. You have Gymshark yoga pants and you're doing squats for us. Thank you. I've seen that a million times today in my timeline. And no matter how many times I unfriend or unfollow people to kind of clear out my timeline and make sure it's just what I want to see, I still see the same damn things. And it's just like, we get it. Like, I'm going to start a segment on my podcast called We Get It. And it's just going to be like, okay, we get it. And then I'm going to name something that annoys me that I see all the fucking time. The only thing I don't get annoyed of seeing is dog pics or like animal pics, good animal pics, not like, you know, beaten dogs or anything like that. But
right,
like,
don't beat dogs.
You know, puppies and stuff like that is always cool. But yeah, I see the same freaking things. It's like, when did working out become like make you a public figure? Like, we all work out.
Yeah,
like, we all do it. And like, I don't put out videos of me squatting because people know how to squat. People can do that. You know, we don't need, and it's not about the workout. It's you trying to show off in your leggings or whatever makeup you're wearing or these other things. And it's just like, and no offense to the people that really are out there trying to like, because now I'm going to give, I hate being like controversial because then people are going to be like, oh, you're just hating. You're just hating because you don't look like that.
No, fuck all that.
You can't get someone like
no, fuck all that.
No, that's not what I mean. It's just like, and there's no offense to people out there that are like nutritionists and that are out there trying to really, you know, do the health thing. I'm talking about the people that are more worried about their actual looks than the fact that they're actually posting about working out.
Right.
Like, it's more about being one of those, whatchamacallit, what are those things called? People get paid to just post shit about
like
things.
influencers and shit.
Why am I so? Yes, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Why I'm so old, man. I can't even think of influencers. You know, it's all those people that are influencers and stuff, and it's just like I see accounts that have like 200,000 followers, and literally it's like fit running, and all they're doing is reposting other people's stuff and getting a ton of followers, which ultimately gets some money and other things, and doing that. And I'm just like, whatever happened to original content? You know, whatever happened for me and our company? It's like, yeah, I could sit there and take other people's logos and then put EUM on it and then change the logos so I wouldn't be sued, but get a likeness of that and sell a bunch of shirts and make money. But it's like, it's not original,
Right.
you know, and it's not all that stuff on the internet. It's not original. So I'd rather take 5 years to do something I could do in 3 if it means doing it the right way and making sure that I'm growing the company at a good pace and I'm doing what I need to do. And same thing with social media and all that. It's I don't care that I'm not online every day being the best, because I'm admittedly horrible at social media. Like I get caught up in shit. I get anxiety because I'll go on and see 2 people fighting and it has nothing to do with me, and I'm like, why are these 2 fighting about this dumb thing? You know, it's one of those things where it does, social media does less good for me than it does or it does more bad than it does good, as far as like, yeah, I guess I need it if I really want to get myself out there and do but you know, as a management company, what we do is behind the scenes. So I'm more worried about what we have going on behind the scenes and the fact that even I have a podcast or anything like that, you know? Right.
It's a necessary evil, especially if you're trying to promote shit and brand yourself and all that good stuff, man. But before we bounce out of here, Josh, I always ask the majority of my guests this, especially when they're far off and away, especially during this quarantine time, because I always like to know good stories, man. I want to hear worst dating story of all time before we get out of here.
Oh, man.
Do you have a bad dating story?
Yeah. Man, I knew this was a dating podcast too. I should have had my stories ready.
It's the best when you remember it on the fly, because then you start to be like, oh my God, this happened. Oh my God, this happened too. What the fuck? How to forget this?
Yeah, oh man, I've had a few. I mean, I can't necessarily remember specifics because it's been a while since I've dated, to be honest. I'm not a big dater. You know, and again, because my career comes first, it's really like if I meet someone or if it happens naturally, that's great. But really my focus on there. But I've had a few where I've shown up and I've never gotten ditched.
Okay.
But I've definitely done the ditching, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay, yeah. Interesting.
Like I've never had someone actually just get up and leave on me, but I have shown up, seen the girl, and walked out, or because either
they didn't look like that.
They didn't look anything like they said they were, or it's not even that they were ugly or something different. It was just that I could just tell it wasn't going to work out. Really? Or I've gone and we've had a great time, but then I've gotten stiffed with the bill.
No.
And that really annoys me.
How so? Okay, set this up. How so? Like they just don't pay, they don't pull out any money, they don't offer, like how so?
Yeah, and you know, if we're going on a date, or if I ask you out on a date, more than likely I will pay.
Thanks, Josh.
You know what I mean? but well, yeah, we'll have to talk about that later. But if this is like a mutual thing, I mean, fucking pay for yourself. I'm sick of all these independent women that expect me to pay for their shit. And then they wonder why men get paid more sometimes, because I'm paying for all your shit, you know? No, I mean, I don't mean that, obviously. But,
right.
It's just the few. Because now I'm going to have all my friends, because I forgot I'm doing this live. So I'm going to be like, you're an asshole.
Everybody's like, you're talking shit.
You're an asshole. And I'm like, no, I'm just telling you from my perspective that I'm all about dating, and actually most girls are Dutch, but it's funny that I see a lot of, it's the ones that say they're independent are the ones that never pay. The ones that don't have, like, if you have to sit there and say you're a queen and you serve things, are you really a queen? Or if you have to sit there and say, you know, I'm independent, are you really independent? You know what I mean?
Let it speak for you.
I don't have
to
any,
tell anybody like what you are. If you are what you are, then I'll be like, damn, you independent. Not like you telling me, did you know I'm independent?
Right. Show me you're independent. Yeah. But no, shout out to all the ladies out there. I feel bad that you probably all the people watching now probably think I'm a scumbag.
Like fucking
Josh. Probably like, what is this, man? This is what I get for going on a dating podcast. I feel like I'm more in my element when we're talking about other things other than dating,
like music and shit.
Because seriously, dating in your 30s is much different than dating in your 20s.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm 31, man. And I'm gonna be 32.
Oh, you're a young buck still.
Yeah.
Shit. I
don't know how old you thought I was, but yeah, I'm 31, man. I turned 32 in July, and it's still, you know, when I think. You know, everybody's got something they're going through, whether it's they're finding their career, they're finding themselves, or they come out of, I think, like, you know, a big segment is you come out of relationships where you've been with somebody for a long time and yada yada, and everybody knows the story. I always tell it in a lot of my podcasts, but especially when you've been with somebody for a long time, or you're on the set path, priorities when you are dating, and a friend of mine came on not too long ago, so I can, like, as to wrap this up, he was like, you know, when you re-enter the dating realm, no matter where you come from, it's some people have like they have like the checklist, man, and sometimes all 10 things you were getting maybe in a previous relationship or that somebody else provided once upon a time, as you're on this journey, like sometimes you just need like 2 or 3 of those things, maybe 5 of those things. This other person needs like 1 of those things checked off, and it's being able to match your checklist against somebody, and to be able to communicate like, hey, this is all I need from you, or this is what you're providing to me, and I really like it. And like the sad thing is, I think a lot of times where to put it in an analogy's sake, is when somebody's not getting one of those checks that they expected to get checked off, you're not checking it off on their list, and they're like, hey, you're not doing this thing for me. And you're like, whoa, we never even, goes back to always communication. Yeah. We didn't even talk about this. Like, I didn't even know you were holding me to this fucking standard. Like, I had no fucking idea. Now all of a sudden we have problems that I never knew we had problems about, and like it goes into that whole realm of things. But I think we all, like, to go back to it, we all have this checklist, man, and your checklist is going to be a little bit different than mine of what you need right now out of somebody. Like, maybe you just need like some companionship time and, like, you know, like some sex time, and like that's good for you, and that's probably good with like girls you're meeting, and that's cool and all. Me, like, probably like, let's see if I can date somebody, and let's see like if it goes past 1 or 2 dates, and like let's see what's up. And I don't know if I'm ready for a relationship, but like we'll see if it gets there. You know what I mean? Like a different segment of check marks, and somebody else may be looking for all goddamn 10. They're looking to get married. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's always different. I think it's always different, and it changes too, like you said. Especially like when you hit a different age bracket, because you're like, oh damn, like I'm getting a little bit older. All right, well, let's it's, you know, it's got to be about some substance, or like what the fuck are we doing? You know what I mean? So that's just my take on it, though. I don't know too much. I just run a dating podcast. But Josh, man, it's been fun. It's been fun having you on. I'd love to just have you on just to talk, just to talk music, bro. Like one of these days, like just to talk music. Yeah, sure. I feel like we'd have a whole conversation. Hey, about man, that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always available. I'll make time if I have to. And thank you so much, man. It's nice to talk. You know, you like talking about music, but it's nice for me to talk about something other than music as well. So getting to talk dating and relationships was a lot of fun. Very different for me than what I've been doing this last week. So thanks a lot, man. We have to have you back on my podcast.
Of course.
Talk a little bit about dating and stuff like that. Maybe hear some more of your stories. So thank you so much. I got him. Man.
Josh, take over my show real quick and shout yourself out where people can find you and all that. Take over my show for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So our management company, if you want to check it out, is EUM_music. And that's the same for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, EUM Music Group. And then my podcast, you can find on all platforms, whether it's Apple Podcast, whatever. It's J2_podcast for Instagram. And then that's the Just Josh podcast. It's a music, you know, based in music, but it's like the Joe Rogan of music. It's how I always like to say it, in the sense of like to talk about everything, anything I'm interested in. It's my own podcast, and it's a lot of fun. And we just finished. We're going to wrap up season 1. It only has 9 up, but I have about 15 and waiting in line. I've just been kind of lazy because we've been trying to set up for season 2. So we'll get the rest of those out, and that'll be the end of season 1. And then season 2 you can find on YouTube, and then I'll eventually put season 1 back up there. And it'll be all video, and then we're gonna have bigger guests. So we'll have like bigger bands, bigger guests, like household names and kind of stuff that you people that you would know. So I'm excited for that, and I really appreciate again having me on here. So check us out if you want, and definitely check out the podcast.
Yeah, everybody go follow Josh and his podcast. Josh, I'm going to go follow you on social media. Everybody else should go do the same. If you guys want to follow Unfiltered Bachelor, if you guys are already here and you're not following us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all Unfiltered Bachelor. You can follow the podcast on your favorite podcast app, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are. That's where we are. If you want to follow me and all the outrageous shit that I be saying, follow me, Money Blakeweather, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I'm all of that in a bag of chips on all of those social medias. Everybody, thank y'all so much for tuning in. And until the next time, we will see you. Peace.